Hello to all the tea timing terrapins out there. It is for the final time. Mel and Katherine here once again.
Hello. I'm Katherine. I'm here.
Yeah, we're done. We finishing. Round
At
2.
At least the main journey.
Yes. Alrighty. I guess last time we tried this, you didn't have anything to do because this is actually our second time trying to record this. So do we just skip any introduction and go straight into the...
I mean, last time we had like 2 minutes of me being like, I'm slightly further in Showa OG Kamen Rider than I was last time I watched this. We recorded this. It continues to be fun. It's good.
Yeah, I mean, that show is also like 100 episodes, so you know.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's 96, which is kind of crazy coming from the era where I'm used to 50 episode riders.
Yeah. I mean, every show after that's like 50 or 30.
Right, yeah.
I think Go Ranger is also like 75 or something crazy. Alright, in that case, we'll just cut to the chase. Let's go to the production.
Sure.
Alright, so as we discussed a bit last time, the Heisei trilogy was a critical success, but not so much a financial one. In addition, a lot of the directions that Dai saw Kaneko was taking were controversial, so there was a lot of butting heads behind the scene that almost got the trilogy to not happen in the first place. Part of this stemmed from the fact that Kaneko and his crew tend to be bigger Godzilla fans than they were of Showa Gamera and its kiddie orientation, but also felt specifically unsatisfied with how the Heisei Godzilla movies were turning out and so on to make their own kaiju movies that did the things they wanted. It also seems that Tokuma Shoten, the parent company of Dai, wouldn't have been able to secure the profits no matter what, because in order to meet the budgetary demands of Kaneko's team, the trilogy project ended up being a joint investment with 2 other companies, one being Nippon TV, whose newscasters featured prominently in the trilogy, and the other being the advertising agency Hakuhodo. So that meant that the profits were divided 3 ways. For his part, Noriaki Iwasa was critical of the trilogy for dropping what made Showa Gamera unique and instead shifting to something close to what Gamera was, what Godzilla was doing. And it was also just, a lot of people worked on the show, movies weren't as into what the Heisei trilogy was doing. So all that and all the stuff we discussed, a movie being too scary for the kids, and about a 3rd movie were reasons why the movie didn't continue. It also seems like the rebirth of Mothra trilogy, which has some cross-pollination of the staff with the Gamer trilogy, and also contemporary to them, were also more successful, despite also being more child-friendly. Also, a hiccup that prevented another movie being made was in the year 2000, president of Tokuma Shoten, Yasuyoshi Tokuma, passed away. Following this, in light of financial issues at Tokuma, there was an asset shakeup at the company, which resulted in Dai being sold off to Katagawa, who owns Dai to this day.
And also owns the entire light novel industry, and FromSoft, and 300 billion other things.
Yes. With the Dai's properties in her hands,
Katagawa brought FromSoft, right? Like, I'm not spreading misinformation on Pod. That's a thing that happened.
That's true. They do own FromSoft. With Dai in their hands, Katagawa had two products they want to pursue. One was a Daimajin reboot to be directed by Takashi Miike, and the other was a Godzilla vs. Gamera movie that Yasuyoshi Tokuma had been trying to get off the ground since 1990. During the early 2000s, Toho was busy putting out a steady stream of Godzilla movies as part of the Millennium Era. This included Konako's own Godzilla movie, GMK, Giant Monsters, All Out Attack, which was a 2001 movie. However, with the 50th anniversary movie Final Wars, Godzilla was again put into dormancy.
Until Shin Godzilla.
Yeah, so that's a pretty sizable gap.
Honestly, though, that is a really crazy amount of time, because Final Wars is like 2004 or something. And
2004 to 2016.
Yeah, that's like, has there ever been like a historical period beforehand with like 12 years of no Godzilla movies?
I guess not, but I guess there's 15 years of no Gamera movies.
That's true, but Gamera is a bit more of the B. Unfortunately, Gamera is a little more of a B-lister for Kaiju, unfortunately.
Yeah. Seems that throughout the 90s and 2000s, Toho didn't seem interested in returning Dai's calls, eventually turned them down outright. And, Godzilla's also on hiatus again, so it doesn't seem like a versus thing is in the cards anyway. So they shifted to a new original movie. There was sort of an understanding among the corporate executives and the production crew that they wanted to produce something that returned Gamera to the children and brought back the heart of the Showa era while distancing itself from the trilogy. At the same time, there is awareness that the popularity of the trilogy meant that there would be demand for a sequel. But they were also considering that the trilogy wasn't able to really expand its demographic range of the audience, and so there was pressure to pick something with maybe more widespread appeal that could secure the franchise longevity.
Yeah, because I guess I never really thought about this, but thinking about it now, it's kind of interesting how one of the things you want to do is if you end up marketing to children, sometimes those children will be fans, and also what's the word? Sometimes the children will be fans, and then their kids can be fans, or their little siblings or whatever, Yeah. Just interesting to think about.
Yeah. What else? One of the producers, Yuichi Arashige, was adamant about not making a sequel to the Heisei trilogy and said, "I won't be involved if you make a sequel." And so this direction ended up going in an original direction instead, and this ended up being supported by Ryuta Tasaki, who is the director of this movie, which is appropriate because Tasaki himself has more of a background in children's toku, specifically on Toei shows, with him being the head director of many such shows as Gingaman, Kamen Rider Agito, Ryuki, Faiz, and after the movie comes out, most of Heisei Kamen Rider. And also Dawn Brothers.
Yeah. Storied career.
Yeah, as such, Tasaki opted to go for an approach that was supposed to be closer to the Noriaki Yuasa or Eiji Tsuburaya style, in contrast to the more gritty take by Kaneko and his crew. This is also why the movie opens with Gamera being established as a friend to humanity from the start, even if you can see some stylistic similarities to the Heisei trilogy in the opening scene. The script was written by Yukari Tatsui in our first Togo script, but it was based on the abandoned Konaka Gamera script draft from the 1995 movie, which itself was based off the 1972 Tsuburaya and Toho co-production Daigoro vs. Goliath. And also there was influences of Bambi and E.T. on this movie as well.
Yeah, I mean, good movies to be influenced by.
As for the cast, there's Ryo Tomioka as Toru Aizawa, Kanji Suda as his dad Kosuke, who you may recognize as Daisuke Okubo in Kamen Rider Ryuki, aka Shinji's boss. Apparently because of both one of the actors and the director was involved in Ryuki, Toru has a couple of Ryuki figures on his shelf, which is fun. Not that I noticed them when I was watching, but they're there, if you pause, presumably. Kaho Indo as Mai Nishio in her debut role. Her dad Osamu is played by Susumu Terajima, who played a lot of Yakuza movies alongside Takeshi Kitano, but also he played the dad in Zyuohger. Tomoro Taguchi plays Counselor Hitso Tsugi, and then Kinjiro Ishimaru plays Professor Amamiya, who also plays the owner of the Denliner in Kamen Rider Den-O. Gamera's design was made to resemble a real turtle more, to make it more appealing to children and less frightening and kaiju-like. Originally wanted to base them off a pond slider, because those were turtles used in the 60s movies, but they ended up going with an African spurred tortoise instead, and they used several live tortoises to portray the baby Gamera, though with a red pattern being painted on the shell, though vinyl models were used for various airborne scenes. Additionally, there's notable CG used for more expressive moments. Unfortunately, I couldn't find any information on who made this suit. Meanwhile, the antagonist Kaiju was originally going to be a squid, but they thought it looked too much like Virus, so they went with a bipedal Kaiju, reptile Kaiju instead. This new Kaiju Zedis was designed to homage various Toho Kaiju such as Varan, Gorosaurus, Barugon, not to be confused with ours, and the 1998 American Godzilla design, as well as the Dilophosaurus from Jurassic Park for good measure. If you think of the frill, it's that one. The suit actor for both the flashback and modern Gameras was Toshinori Sasaki, while the suit actor for Zedis was Mizuho Yoshida. Both of them previously worked together as the twin suit actors for Mother Legion in the second movie, Heisei movie. This movie was the first, and I guess last, to be shot with digital photography, since that would have reduced cost and filming times. It also had 3,000 extras, though most of them were unpaid. Members of the press who were extras who were compensated with interviews, and everyone else was given a free t-shirt. The movie was well received by women and children, which was not an audience less drawn to the Heisei trilogy, but for audiences who were hoping for more of the 90s Gamera offered, they was received more poorly. The fact it was kind of released in like a drought of kaiju movies in the mid-aughts did not help get people to theaters. Yuasa passed away in 2004, so he couldn't get to see this movie, but as for Kaneko, he was not a fan of the movie's direction. He felt it wasn't very exciting, and he sort of sees this and Godzilla Final Wars. So Final Wars is the 1-2 punch of sort of like putting the nail in the coffin of kaiju movies in the mid-2000s. And so as a result, he felt vindicated, like, oh yeah, I did the right thing going in the direction I did with my trilogy. The results speak for themselves. In contrast, in 2015, Kazunori Ito, the writer of the previous trilogy, despite his own reservations of Gamera and its kiddie orientation versus Godzilla preferences, said it was a good thing for the franchise to try and break away from the quote-unquote shackles of the Heisei trilogy, even if he also said at some point, I don't care if I made kids cry at the movie because Kaiju is supposed to be scary.
Yeah, that's a bit of a, like, it's fucked up, but also, like, icon, you know?
Yeah. He's like, hey, they're supposed to be scary. What do you want from me?
Yes, I do think that it is kind of funny to me that you're like, oh yeah, this movie was reasonably successful, and they got women and children too this time, and then they choose not to follow up on this by making anything.
Well, it's not that it's well. The thing is, it wasn't really successful because it was a financial failure and a big flop.
Oh yes, okay, yes, okay, yes, okay, that makes sense. Unfortunately.
And that's why they didn't make a new thing until 2023 with Gamera Rebirth on Netflix. And also, they shelved the Takeshi Miike Daimajin movie, but converted it into a TV series without Takeshi Miike. Anyway, what else is out in 2006? We got Kamen Rider Kabuto, Go-Go Sentai Bokenger, Super Eyes Without Ultraman Mebius, and Bioplanet Wu.
Which Power Rangers is Bokenger equivalent to?
Operation Overdrive.
Yes, okay, that was the last one I watched as a kid.
That is also the last Sentai I finished earlier this year, funny enough.
That's really
that's
funny.
right.
Yes, I had. I remember having some merchandise and stuff. I think I had a Operation Overdrive bubble bath, but that's besides the point. But just funny.
What would you do? How do you have a Power Rangers bubble bath?
let me see if I can find this and link it to you.
Anyway, in the anime sphere, you got such notable works as Code Geass, Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, and Studio Neem's adaptation of both Fate Stay Night and Higurashi in the same year. And also, this is the year the PS3 and the Nintendo Wii come out.
Yeah, we're in the future now.
We're in the future. I guess with that, I can do the final summary poem.
Sure.
For Gamera the Brave. Gamera blew up. We got some nice pearls from it. And also this egg. The government wants him too. Thank you to all the children.
Yeah, that was a good summary. You basically hit all the beats.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of hitting, Gamera gets hit by some Gyaos in the 70s. Because if there's one thing that the 90s movie cemented is that Gyaos will always be here, no matter what.
It's true.
I definitely say there's design influence. I think the design influences of the 90s is a lot more present in this part because I think Gamera looks the most like his 90s kind of part in the scene, and also the 90s design inspirations for Gyaos carry forward as well, for sure. But yeah, it's a big nighttime battle scene where Gamera kills some Gyaos and also self-destructs. And the entire town cheers, yeah, Gamera saved us. So it's like established right away, oh, Gamera is the hero. Everyone trusts Gamera. He is our friend. And is not a question for debate in the movie. Which is such an interesting
Yes, for sure. Though I think, as you said, the lighting and like framing of this flashback scene is much closer to like the Heisei trilogy films. Like they're clearly trying to do it. Oh, if you like those, here's like a tiny slice of that for you.
Yeah. But yeah, and we will see as the movie continues that like the fact that Gamera's allegiance is settled means they can focus their energies on different questions than the ones that the Heisei trilogy could, where in that one Gamera was kind of up in the air. Not really up in the air, but like the characters struggled with, is Gamera on our side or not? And in this one, it's different struggles or different conflicts arising from that. But anyway, cut to the kid Kosuke growing up as a dad with a bouquet and his son Toru. They go to their mom's grave and it's like, it's been less than a year since she died, and Toru doesn't believe in the afterlife, and he's like, no, my mom isn't in heaven. She's in the ashes, in the urn, as he's depressed and mopey, while his dad's like, hey, let's pray to mom and then hope, good success as we go open our business, the family business. Which is the family diner, where, we're hearing whispers of, like, on the news, oh, maybe there's a kaiju at sea, but the kaiju department from the 70s has been closed down because we haven't had kaiju in a while. What's going on? And meanwhile, we get the interesting thing of, like, Kosuke is the dad who's too busy, single dad who's too busy with work to pay attention to his kid, but also instead of being the salaryman who's never home, the family restaurant is their home, so Toru is distant from his dad while they are both in the same building.
Yes, which is a pretty fun twist on things.
Yeah. So he's like, his dad's like chatting with all his friends, and everyone's like all really loud and noisy, and then meanwhile, Toru's just kind of sitting there next to all these people, not really saying anything, and just kind of being isolated. And hallucinating his mom, and then, like, he pontificates this menu, which is like one of her last mementos of this menu that she drew, and he gets like some beer on it, and he tries to like save it because he doesn't want it to get ruined, because like one of the last things from her, things like that. And then he's so depressed, like the girl next door, older girl, Mai, comes in and bribes him with Sergeant Frog to cheer him up. Katakawa property, Sergeant Frog.
Katakawa.
Product placement.
Yeah, yes, it is really funny to me how, like, I was thinking about this before we started recording. It's like, you can kind of see if you watch these movies in sequence over the course of the year, which, two of us did, maybe somebody else listening to this podcast did, you kind of get a sense for, like, how youth culture, or, like, kid culture changes between movies. Like, those 50s Gamera kids were not reading Katakawa licensed manga Sergeant Frog.
Yeah. Though Super Monster had plenty of manga, had like Tokuma manga appearances, and also Leiji Matsumoto anime for some reason.
Yes, that's like the one other time you see like anime and manga kind of like sneak into these movies a little bit in universe.
How many fucking episodes? Jesus Christ, Sergeant Frog is 350 episodes.
Yeah, Sergeant Frog is something crazy like that.
Yeah, I thought Gintama was long, but I think Sergeant Frog is probably longer. But yeah, that's a aside. Yeah, so we get like basically get like a brief scene where Kosuke and Osamu are like talking about their family deals. Osamu being Mai's dad. They're kind of like, Toru was always like, closer to her mom than he was to me. So, we're both going through it, but we're doing our best. They mention, Toru was nicknamed Toto by his mom, but also that there's a suggestion that Mai has something that she has to worry about. And we'll get more about that in basically the scene after next. Because first there's like a thing about like swimming lessons that I didn't really understand, but like he's going to go to swimming lessons, he forgets something, but he instead, earlier in this movie, there's like a red flash on the island, so he goes to check that out because he sees it again. And he finds an egg on a suspicious red pearl shaped a bit like a Magatama, which is not called attention to, but the design is very obvious if you like. It's more of an Easter egg, the design, but it definitely feels like a, wink and a nod to the Heisei trilogy in terms of its design, in my view. And the egg hatches into a baby turtle. I think I also just forgot to mention there was like the brief scene before the restaurant scene where like he's playing with his friends and they accidentally mention his mom and he's like gets mad, but then he's like, got you, I was only pretending to be bad. And just like lots of this thing we talked about in the previous recording, just like, oh, there was a lot of well realized efforts in like trying to depict the real lived experiences of a child going through it. And
Yeah,
just, like,
yeah, they definitely like this movie doesn't really have a lot of like there's like tiny glimpses, uh but there's this movie doesn't really have that like military operations type stuff nearly as much as the other films. So a lot of that time instead kind of goes to like depicting the inner lives and like interiority of the
yeah.
children and stuff.
Which think now that you think about, well, now that you mention it, I feel like that's a thing that's like more in line with like what you also wanted to do anyway. Because if you recall,
Right.
he was like, I don't like having to put the military and scientists and operation guys in here, but it's the genre, so I feel like I have to. And this movie kind of like dispenses with that entirely. I mean, it's there, but like only briefly, and they don't really accomplish anything really. Uh,
Yes.
um, but yeah, we get we find out like the thing that's been alluded to, which is Kosuke visits Osamu, and we find out that like, oh yeah, she's gonna have heart surgery, which is like it's one of those things where it's like a standard procedure, but the fact that surgery still means everyone's a bit worried about it. Seemingly her mom is like the least worried. Her mom Harumi. And then we also get like a brief thing where like Osamu's a jeweler, and the town had like an economic boom because Gamera's explosion also produced all these really weird red pearls that became like a jewels being jewels, market value, etc., etc. Boom to the economy. But like, there's one special one that was like the namesake of the shop that like Osama's like, instead of actually selling this one, I'm gonna turn this into a good luck charm for my daughter. For hope her surgery goes well. And her mom's like, nah, she doesn't need that. It's all good. It'll be fine. And Mai is not fine, as she's like, worried and anxious by herself, bottling it up. But but in the meantime, we get more the slow unraveling of hijinks as Toru makes his new friends with his new turtle, which he calls Toto. Clearly drawing connection, clearly making like an attachment to fill the void of his mom. But because his family runs a restaurant, he's like, I can't keep a pet for hygiene reasons, so I have to keep you a secret. Which means that in the next morning, he tries very hard to hide the turtle when his dad comes in. It's like, hey, I want to help you clean your room. And he's like, no, I'll do it because I'll like chores. And his dad's like, okay,
They're
cool,
making me
yeah.
they're making me clean my room for homework for school.
He's like, okay, cool, yeah, good luck with that. And he like goes to take his blanket that he hide the turtle in, and he like tries to snatch it away. He's like, why you being weird? And then meanwhile behind him, Gamera's flying. Toto is flying and like hovering, and then Mai opens the window and screams, but has to be signaled to Toru to be quiet. And then Kosuke is like, hey, why'd you scream? And she's like, don't worry about it, it's fine, it's nothing. And Kosuke's like, well, I guess I'll leave because I'm confused. But the consequence of this is like, Mai's like, I think maybe this will be a harder pet to keep than you expect. And Toru's like, yeah, probably. So he leaves Toto at the beach and gets annoyed that Toto's insistence on following him, but he does eventually, watch Toto follow him all the way up to the road and helps him from being isekai'd by a truck. And it's all good. So it's like, we're gonna be friends after all, Toto. And I'm gonna show you to my best friends Ishimaru and his younger brother Katsuya, who was playing on the beach with earlier. But first we have to have a montage of them playing at the skate park. Well, I guess maybe ska plays. I don't know. I don't keep track of what music was playing, but Toto is causing problems in the kitchen while Kosuke doesn't notice, and then we get that like juxtaposed with like the skateboarding tricks. And it's fun. And then Mai finds out that Toru kept the turtle and is like, hey, why? I don't think you should do this. And then, she gives exposition about Gamera, and Toru is like, nah, I think it's fake. And Toto is Toto, and he's not Gamera, and it's fine. It's gonna be fine. And it's not fine because the next day Gamera is now Toto is like dog size now, and he can't really keep it in his house, so he has to they have to sneak it out into a cabin somewhere, under the cover of night. And Mai's like, I'm concerned about you, and so I don't want you to get hurt by this turtle. And meanwhile, Toru's like, I need to latch onto this turtle who is filling the void of my mom.
When you put it like that, it sounds really funny.
I mean, I guess it is a bit, but it also is like, oh yeah, I latched onto my pet because my mom is gone, in the same way that John Wick latches onto the dog because his wife is gone. I don't know why I made that specific connection.
But... No, that makes sense.
While this is happening, we get like more cuts of like, oh yeah, more shipwrecks, people at sea being eaten. And the government's like, well, you think that it's a kaiju. The professor thinks it's a kaiju, but the kaiju department's shut down, so we don't care about your speculation. But it's fine. It's not fine. But what does happen that is also not fine is first Toru leaves the house and does the ultimate kid move of like, oh, where are you going? Somewhere. No, I asked to where. I said somewhere. But then, on his way out, he overhears and learns, Mai's insisting on going to school for defiance reasons, while her mom wants her to stay at home because she's gonna have her surgery the next day. And so there's a big argument, and Osama gives her the good luck charm, and that's how Toru finds out about the heart surgery, which is a bit fucked up about. But he does give her back the manga and also says, oh yeah, this big pearl I found with the egg, you can have as a good luck charm. This will be revealing to you that I know about your heart surgery. And so she takes it and appreciates it. But all this is like making him more concerned, because he's like, well, I don't want to lose my friend next door after I've lost my mom. I don't want to lose Toto. I don't want Toto to be Gamera, because what if that means for Toto? Will Toto not be here all the time, etc.?
Yeah, will Toto die like Gamera died?
Yeah. And meanwhile, Toto is like noticing that there's something out at sea. So when the next day Toru goes to find Toto again at the cabin, he's gone. He's like, oh no, did I upset Toto by denying his identity as Gamera? And so he and his friends keep searching around, can't find anything. He has a dream about Toto abandoning him that doesn't involve the Space Shuttle Yamato showing up. And throughout all this, Kosuke is like, yeah, I think something's up with my son, and every time he thinks he should do something, one of his customers gets him back into the kitchen, so he's not helping a lot here. I think it's like the next day they search again, and this is when a siren happens, and Kosuke finds Toru and Ishimaru are like picked up by Kosuke because like, oh no, the evacuation, we gotta get out of here. And then Katsuya is stuck in a crowd that gets trapped by a falling debris, and then the Kaiju Zetas shows up and eats a bunch of people. And Kosuke has to quickly try and sneak in to save Katsuya from also being eaten, and he's about to get eaten himself, but then a small Gamera / Toto shows up, now Kaiju size, but tiny Kaiju size, and they fight. And Toru's like, oh, that's Toto. And Kosuke's like, oh, that's Gamera. And this will be the main interaction between these two for the rest of the movie.
Yes, I think it's supposed to be a meta thing where it's like, it's like, oh, your dad also grew up on Gamera and now is an adult with a kid, and is. all
Yeah,
that stuff.
like
It's last time we recorded this, I called this movie the Bar Show of Gamera or
yes,
something.
because it is like kids going to see this in theaters would presumably go with their parents because that is what happens when you have a child and you are a responsible adult. You go with your kids to see these things, and so there'd be the aspect of like many parents who like grew up watching Gamer movies. I don't know which ones because there was a lot of time for them to have grown up without Gamera happening around them, but presumably some of them.
Yeah, that is also true. That's also true.
But presumably the idea is like, oh yeah, your dad saw Gamera as a kid, and now you're going to the theater and watching the movie with your dad, and you can be like, oh yeah, I watched the Gamera when I was a kid, and also now Kosuke's like, yeah, I saw Gamera as a kid, and I'm gonna tell you about it, my son. But it's complicated in this case. In any case, we get a fight ensues. Toto goes to the bridge nearby and hides in it, but then Zedis has a sharp arrow tongue that you think Gamera is safe inside the bridge, but no, he's not. But then Gamera rides the tongue up and blasts him in the face with a fireball, which is great. And that knocks Zedis into the ocean, presumably defeated Asterix until the end of the movie. And Toru tries to go after Gamera while Kosuke tries to go after his son from going into a dangerous situation. And before Toru was able to get there, the military swoops in and is like, oh, Kaiju is real, we have to reinstate the Kaiju department of the government. And they capture Gamera and take him away. And they're going to take him away to Nagoya, where is incidentally also the place where Mai is in the hospital having her surgery. Pontificating her glowing gem. And this kind of lets us to one of the interesting twists of this movie, I think, which is like, because Gamera is already established as a friend to humanity, we have the scientists being like, well, now we have Gamera, who is our friend. We have to power him up with the power of all these pearls we've collected, so he can be our weapon against the Kaiju. Against his will, but he's our ally, so it's fine. He needs to protect humanity, so we're going to make him. Which I think is a fun direction to take things as an alternative. Real mad scientist shit going on with like walls of like weird IV stuff from like pearl juice, I guess. And there's also a belief of like, Zedis tasted human meat once, so he'll, want to come back for more. Which is like all the more reason we need to get Gamera to full strength to take him on. And this where sort of gets like the big off-screen exposition as both at the shelter, Kosuke and Toru tell each other about their respective turtle experiences, and Kosuke's like, listen, my son, you are a child and this is a kaiju, and this is now bigger than you, and there's only so much you can do. And he's not Toto anymore, he's Gamera, he's he's a big boy. And he may be our friend, but also he's got his own agency. And Toru's like, no, he'll be Toto forever. And then Kosuke gets a call and it's like, oh hey, cool, Mai's okay, her surgery went well, she's all good, but she's like half asleep and keeps talking about the charm from Toto. Well, specifically Toru talks to Mai's mom on the phone, but yeah, basically he's like, oh, we need to power up Gamera by getting the gem back to him. And so him and the two boys take a train to Nagoya and leave a note, which leads to Kosuke going, oh, God, those boys, I gotta get them. And then things kind of come to a head really fast because everyone in the movie is now in Nagoya, including Zedis, who just breaks into the lab and fucks things up. And so everyone's trying to run away, but the kids are trying to run the opposite direction, which means they get trampled a little bit. hospital's being evacuated. You know, Toru basically like sees Gamera, and Gamera does like a head nod for a bit, and then they reach the hospital and everyone's already gone, except Kosuke somehow managed to catch up like right behind them and slaps his child, which is not good and we do not condone. And he's like, "Oh, how could you? That was dangerous, And meanwhile, Toru is not really perturbed by being slapped by his father, and instead is perturbed that Mai is not around to give the gem to Gamera too. And Kosuke's like, listen, you've done enough. Again, you're like one child who is trying to. You can't deal with kaiju battles. And Toru's like, nuh-uh, and basically runs off. And Kosuke tries to go after him, and then but first he runs, and then he notices the two brothers are there, and he's like, here's a map, go to the shelter, bye, and he runs. And meanwhile at the shelter, Mai is like, yeah, I gotta get this gem to Gamera, and so she tries to leave her hospital bed in IV drip to go give the gem to Gamera, and then her parents and the doctors are like, no, don't do this, you can't do this, you can't walk. But thankfully, a nameless bystander girl sees this and is like, don't worry, I understand. And then thus begins
the children's
relay race, as like dozens of unnamed children all try and make their way to the city to pass on, being facing fences or police officers grabbing them and just passing on the gem wordlessly to one another, and they all psychically know, yes, this has to go to Gamera somehow. And it's really funny, and really corny, but also like fit appropriate for this kind of movie, because it is a kids movie.
Yes, it's very corny and cheesy, but it's very fun.
Yeah, it's like, obviously, since it's very hokey, but also given the kind of franchise this is and what they kind of do, and like, it's kind of earned, makes sense, etc. And this eventually leads to the part where Ishimaru and Katsuya are just completely lost and don't know how to get to the shelter, which means they accidentally bump into one of the people with the gem. Which is lucky for them. Because, first of all, Gamera is getting owned and tries to like bite Zedis' tail, but Zedis yeets him into a building face first, where he's like stuck with his feet dangling. And, meanwhile, Toru's like, listen, I want to save Gamera / Toto, because if he doesn't have the power to beat the kaiju on his own, he will need to self-destruct, which means he will die, and I don't want that, so we have to give him the full power. And meanwhile, Kosuke's like, well, I don't want my son to die, I don't think your friends also want you to die. But then, the brothers come in and give them the gem. Kosuke also warns, like, listen, if you power up Gamera, he might also die by this. And Toru's like, no, I believe in him. And so eventually this does lead to Kosuke being like, okay, you can go, but I'll go with you. And so they run to the building as a father-son duo up until the point where they reach some debris again, and then Kosuke has to like lift up the debris and they go, you go on without me. And then Toru like ends up in the room face to face with Gamera in a fun scene. Fun shots where he's like, Gamera, Toto, you cannot die, you must survive. So fight to win, but live. And Gamera's getting a little fucked up and gets thrown out of the tower, and so just as Gamera starts to fall, Toru yeets the gem into Toto's mouth, and then Toto's able to power up and unlock his final ability, which is the signature Gamera UFO move, which is fun as a thing to do.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, definitely.
Waiting all movie to see this. And it's here.
Yes, this Gamera's got to learn his powers.
Yeah. So then, more fighting ensues. And it looks like Gamera like might be about to self-destruct, and now the military's like, oh, is he gonna self-destruct again? And then Toru and Kosuke are like, no, we believe in him. And so instead he actually just shoots a fuck off fireball that explodes Zedis in really big noticeable explosion of special effects, and the day is saved. And the military is like, all right, everybody, we got to capture Gamera. And then every child forms a chain fence, stretch their arms stretched out. It's like, no, we won't let you, government, take the Gamera away. And then Toro's like, no, Toto, go, be free. And then noticeable smoke CG effects happen as Gamera flies away. And, you know, Mai wonders, oh, you know, will we ever see Toto again? And then the last line of the movie is Toro sort of like showing the completion of his arc as he says goodbye to Gamera, not Toto, in recognition of, I guess, Gamera's agency, such individuality, and sort of like moving on, growing up, that kind of thing, overcoming his denial. And the movie ends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. It's like, it's a fun change of pace. I think they managed to keep, like, the child whimsy of Showa Gamera, while also kind of modernizing it a little bit.
Like, there's more time to build up the characters and establish them rather than just like, hey, we're in it and the kids are here. And it takes time to flesh it out and realize them as characters and like build up to Gamera showing up. I can see a bit, this is a thing we didn't say in the last recording, but I think I can see a bit how some of this idea gets reused by Kaneko when he writes Tamers, because I guess, you know, this is kind of how Guillemot starts out, kind of. So
yeah, I can see the connection there.
Which is fun. Is what else is there? It feels weird because like we technically had this conversation twice. So I'm trying to remember what are things we didn't bring up this time.
Yes. Sorry, I keep thinking that we have to play like kayfabe on like have we recorded this before? So I'm trying not to bring that up, but I'm like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I mean, we did already mention it. It's just more like, you know.
Yes, I feel like we hit everything mostly.
Yeah, the main thing is like this is obviously. It has the energy and spirit of the show ones, but I think it's, in a way, it feels more well realized than some of those ones because a lot of them were kind of slapdash.
Yeah.
Like the kids' characters feel more like the characters feel like characters, but I think a lot of the '90s movies you can't say the same thing about. Not the '90s, the '60s movies.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
Like I want to say the most well realized kid characters are like the kid in Super Monster, which was a movie made. It was half a movie with other movies padded out with like sawdust in brownies, and the Virus, which was also the same thing, and the kids were like Jimmy Neutron characters, and that was why they were well realized because they weren't. They were cartoon characters basically. They weren't like real characters, and they were also like the only two characters in that movie. Unlike this movie where you have, you know, the dads and every child is like their own character in a meaningful way.
You definitely got a sense that they have a better eye of how to make these with a key on characterization.
Yeah, and I don't know how much that's just like the style of the movies at the time versus now, versus just like, well, I guess also like they weren't making one of these a year. So it wasn't the time crunch of like, well, this is the best we can do. Yeah, I think definitely think like, yeah, if you're gonna do a thing that's like trying to harken back to the show era, this is the best implementation of that. And yeah, I think it's good. They do a good job making Gamera cute. And I think, yeah, the relay, I think the one thing I think I said last time that I need to say now that I didn't yet is like, you see, it's sort of like a tying more into like the idea of like Gamera as the friend to all children, and like there was a thing like in the haste in like Gamera is like as the guardian children means he has a connection to all of them to some degree. It's just like usually in the movies he has a connection to one in particular as the focus, but like this kind of helps show that like
yeah, which is like that's here a little bit at the start, but it kind of gets turned into something else as the film goes on.
Yeah, because like he obviously has a obvious connection with Toru, but then like in the second movie where like the wishes of the kid, the second Heisei movie, where the wishes of all the kids in the ruins of Sendai, which never got rebuilt, revive Gamera. In this one, you like, hey, you know, all the children are able to like intuitively know, okay, this is a thing for Gamera, and I have to get to Gamera, and also like the kids, I guess similar to that one, is like the kids are doing their part to help Gamera in a way that Gamera usually helps them and the rest of humanity, which is a nice inversion.
Right.
So it's like a reciprocal relationship too, which is fun. Yeah, I think that's yeah, I guess. Is there anything else? I definitely think like I went through the summary in a more concise way, having done it the first time.
Yeah, but I still think you hit like everything major, so it's probably fine.
Yeah, I sometimes just don't know like what stuff to be covered just by talking about it the movie as we go through it versus like where the last ones we get to wrap up. But yeah, it's I'm glad every Hasty movie was a good one, because like it was getting pretty dire in the middle.
Yeah, definitely. And it got dire in the middle, but we ended up in a good spot, and I think that's what's most important.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to do our like slapdash kaiju rankings real quick?
Yeah, slapdash kaiju rankings. Gamera Jr. goes one tier below normal Gamera.
Yeah, if we count Toto as separate from Gamera, then he is in A tier.
Which I think you should. Toto is kind of more like Gamera's kid in a way. Is kind of how I conceptualize it. He's the Boruto to Gamera's Naruto.
Yeah, he's like Boruto's dad's son.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Zadis is fine. We said, because it is just a generic reptile.
Pretty dull.
And like the suit is like good. It looks good. It's a well designed version of that, but still like when in the realm of kaiju space, the reptile, the dinosaur reptile look is like vanilla ice cream, soft serve vanilla ice cream at McDonald's. Kind of like that's basically like the equivalent. It's like, oh man, it's a dinosaur. Good job, cool, wow. Are you Godzilla?
I'm so susceptible. Now you're making me want ice cream at like 12:30 at night.
Do they even have anything open there that late?
Maybe like I theoretically could get takeout ice cream, but that does not feel worth the money.
No, I guess you're very lucky if you have something in your fridge.
No, unfortunately, I don't have any ice cream in the freezer fridge today.
All right, and I think much like last attempt, we're too lazy to actually bother ranking everyone else.
Yeah.
At this point, it was easier when there was less movies, but now we're like, well, yeah, no, it's hard remembering everyone. A lot, especially because a lot of them just kind of ended up shunted into B tier because, like, well, they're all right.
Yeah, basically.
But I guess that leaves us to first, I guess, say what's next, because like Turtle Tea Time is over, but we're still doing stuff, and the first two things we're going to be doing are just the cleanup of Gamera stuff before we do go into something new. Which is to say that next month we got, I think it's called Nezura 1964, which is like the docudrama of the failed rat movie that they attempted to make before turning into Gamera.
Yeah, I'm looking forward
and then
to that.
the month after that is Gamera Rebirth, which is the Netflix miniseries. And then the month after that, it's a secret, but it's a different thing that's not turtle related. But yeah, we did it, chat.
Yeah, we covered all 12 Gamera movies.
In 12 months, too.
Yep.
Plan of success. Thank you, everyone. Would you like to, I guess, do your sign-off?
Yeah. Wait. Do I do the plugs first and then the sign-off?
Yes.
Shit.
Yeah.
Plugs. I'm Katherine, Kimi Katherine on Blue Sky. Mismatchedwings.itch.io, where you can play my visual novels if that's a thing that you want to do. And that's basically it.
You can follow this pod network at ultra_Q on Twitter. That's QUEUE. Or on Blue Sky without the underscore. Biscuit.social. You can send an email. No one has ever sent a Gamera email in before. To ultraqpod@gmail.com. And yeah, that's it. Look out for what we're doing. We got weird times ahead on the current feed as we got through the most nothing thing ever, Andrew Mellos, as we continue through the Ultraman hiatus years of the 80s. But for now we do the sign off for realsies.
Yeah, I'll see you in the depths of Atlantis.
And for the last time, maybe, I'll see you in Shell.
So don't just feel 信じていさ someday 君を so well 守るため I'm here to stay もしも君が涙抱いた空なのなら I'll be right by your side 僕は羽ばたく鳥になり flying with you 行き運ぼう約束しよう遠く会えない日も君への想い今も今ま駆け抜ける時間の中でも大切なものはなくさないよいつか君が夜の底で 君